This may be the most reviewed bike out there. This is the Rad Power Bike Radster Trail. There's a lot of data out there from real riders on this bike, and I want to talk about the things that they like the most about this bike. And some of those are a powerful motor and a lot of torque, and the sleek and lightweight design. I'm also going to talk about the most commonly asked questions. What is the range on a single charge? How does it ride on rough terrain? And how hard is it to assemble? Now, before I get into all that, I want to talk a little bit about the company. All right, so back in 2007, Mike Radenbaugh, you can now understand why they call this Rad Power Bikes. He built his first bike in 2007. And then in 2015, he partnered with one of his college buddies and launched their first bike called the Rad Rover. By 2021, they had already sold 350,000 bikes. And then in 2022, the former president of Sony was brought on. And now in 2025, they got a bunch of models. They got anywhere from trikes to road bikes to trail bikes, which again, is what we got going on today. So now that you know a little bit about the company, let's dive into the things that the people like about this bike. And of course, the first one is power. And what we got as far as power is a 750 watt rear hub motor. That is actually very quiet. There's very little motor noise coming from that. So if you like a quiet motor like I do, and you don't want to hear that classic buffeting motor noise like a lot of bikes have, this doesn't have it. It's a very quiet ride. Up in the cockpit, on the control pad, they have a plus and minus, and that's gonna give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pedal assist levels. Then you also have a half twist throttle. When you're using the throttle, you can only top the bike out at 20 miles per hour. That's it, you're done. 20s as fast as you go. But if you start to pedal, then you can take that up to 28 miles per hour. Now, if you live in an area that doesn't allow that type of speed,
I'd like to speak to a manager.
You can change the class of this bike. I'm gonna show you how. If you hold down the M button for a couple seconds, the advanced settings menu comes on. You can change this bike to a class 1, class 2, class 3, 25, and class 3, 28. I feel like I just took you guys to school. I could easily hit 28 miles per hour with my normal cadence. It's not the type of bike where you have to really pedal fast to hit that top speed. But the best thing about that torque sensor as far as acceleration is how quick the motor engages. As soon as I put pressure, it goes. And that's exactly what you want for a trail bike. Because when you're climbing like this on loose gravel, you don't want any delay. In fact, the best measuring stick that I found to tell the difference between a good e-bike and a bad e-bike is how long it takes the power to hit when you start to pedal. Now, if you're on paved trails, probably not gonna matter that much. But if you get this to go on terrain like this, you're definitely gonna wanna have that power hit right away. All right, so I want to talk about hill climbing ability for just a moment. And the other day, I actually took it to the hill test that I take all the bikes to, and I had no problem making it up that. So by the time I was hitting the top, I was going 9 miles per hour. You got plenty of power, plenty of torque. So when you hit a 25 to 30% grade hill, the bike's gonna get you to the top. All right, so it's time to talk about the second thing that people really liked about this bike, and that is how sleek and lightweight it is. And here's where I would have to disagree. Sorry, general public, but I need to. Because for a full-size bike, it's really not that lightweight. At 77 pounds, it can carry up to 370 pounds. So you could use this as a cargo bike. There is a rear rack on the back that can hold 55 pounds. This also comes in 2 sizes. This is the larger size. And as far as the geometry and the posture and things like that, for a 5'11" guy, which I just so happen to be, it's actually pretty upright. Slight bend to the back. I find it to be pretty comfortable, especially for off-road riding. And the big reason for that higher posture is you have these mini BMX style handlebars. They're also swept back, and so you don't have to reach further out to grab the grips. And then you have a rise to the stem of about 2 inches. This is a mid-step. Got the classic Rad Power Bike 2 bars going from the front to the rear. Not a lot of bikes that look like that. Oh, and then the last thing I want to show you is the paint job in the welding scars. First off, the paint job is just beautiful. I love this green color. I just love green. That grass is green. I like it. That tree over there is green. I like that too. Welding scars are actually not too bad. They try to hide them as best as they could. I've definitely seen worse welding scars on a bike. Now let's talk about range. Oh, the battery died. The bike died? No. Now let's talk about range. There we go. The size of the battery is pretty much standard with bikes in this class. That's a 48 volt, 15 amp hour. Takes 6 to 7 hours for a recharge, and they say you can get over 65 miles on it. Now the guys over at Electric Bike Report, they did 2 tests. The first test they ran on pedal assist level 1, they averaged about 10 miles per hour and got 75 miles. The second test was on pedal assist level 5, they averaged 18 miles per hour and got 35 miles. With both tests, they got around 1,000 feet of elevation. The reason why I don't do range tests is because there's so many variables that affect it. Some will take this on paved trails, some will take it on stuff like this. Some way heavy, some way light, some wanna go fast, some wanna go slow. I could go on and on and on. If you ride it slow on paved trails, you can get over 70 miles, which is a heck of a range for a 15 amp hour battery. Yeehaw! Well, now it's time to talk about the second most asked question. How does it handle in the off-road? And the first thing to know about the off-road is Don't park your bike on the slope next to the water, or else it will fall in and get a little bit muddy. Anyways, as far as off-roading, there's a front fork suspension that's got 80 millimeters of travel, and you can lock that out. You got 27.5 by 3-inch all-terrain tires. I swear to you, stick. Get out of there. I like the saddle for this type of riding. It's not super big, not heavily cushioned. It's definitely a trail type of bike saddle. Now you'll like taking this off-road if you're choosy on the type of trail you take this on. If you're thinking about getting this to hit some insane mountain bike trails, don't think that. Now we can climb, that's not the issue. It's the bumpiness factor. The suspension is pretty good for about a green, maybe a slight blue rated trail, but anything above that, it's a little rough. All right, I'm back on the main trail, and this is the trail I'm talking about. This is the trail that this bike just flourishes on. Hey, puppy dogs. All right, that brings us to the last of the 3 most asked questions about this bike, and that is, how easy is it to assemble? And it's pretty easy. All you have to do is install the handlebars, put on the front tire, and then add the pedals, slide the seat in, and that's pretty much it. I actually did a short on this. If you want to check it out, you can see all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into putting this together, which were pretty much 0. All right, now it's time to take the helmet off and brush out the hair. There we go. Feels good. And talk about all the stuff that I haven't talked about yet. And the first one is, you can set this to turn on and off through an NFC card. You go down to NFC, hit bind, and you can set the card. And they give you 2 NFC cards. Just a nice way to secure your bike a little bit more. And then over here, you got mineral oil, Tektro hydraulic brakes. When you hit the brake levers, the tail light flares up, and you do have motor cutoff. Over on the other side, on the control pad, but up top is a power button, and then below that, you got turn signals. It shows up on the screen, and then right there on the tail light. And you do have to hit it again to turn that off. Now, when you turn the bike on, the headlights automatically come on. And you got a pretty bright headlights. You got wingtip grips. They feel nice. They're locked onto the handlebars. They don't move. On the right side, you have an 8-speed under the handlebar trigger style shifter, and then that is matched with a Shimano Altus derailleur. The fenders are actually pretty nice. These are actually aluminum, and it flares out here at the end. The front one is actually pretty small. All right, so there you have it. That is, well, again, one of the most reviewed bikes I've seen. I've searched other bikes before doing the review, you know, just to see what's out there. I haven't seen any bike even close to being reviewed as much as this has. And I can see why.
Popular.
It's got a nice ride. You got awesome power, especially if you're gonna hit the off-road. You got higher end brakes, a nice range, and it's got a beautiful paint job.
You're beautiful.
So if you want to check this out, I've got the link in the description. And as always, I appreciate you guys hopping on here and checking out my content. And I'll see you on the next one. Tree.